Here's your Tropical Storm Nate update. It is October 5th. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals. It's that mass of clouds over Nicaragua and Honduras, more than 1,000 miles away from the north central Gulf Coast. It's a minimal tropical storm, but it has been a rainmaker for Nicaragua and Honduras. Maximum wind 40 miles an hour, moving north-northwestward at 10 miles an hour. That puts it back over the waters of the western Caribbean and then into the Gulf as we move through the weekend. Notice computer models show a lot of different solutions with a total difference of almost 250 miles from east to west. Now that's by Sunday, and what that simply means is we cannot pinpoint exactly where it's going to make landfall. At this point, no watches for the north central Gulf Coast, but those will be coming out soon, followed by warnings. It'll either be hurricane watch or tropical storm watch, depending upon where the center is more likely to go, which it becomes more clear as we get closer to that point. And that means at this point, have a plan for the different what-if scenarios, which will depend upon where you live, whether you're on the coast, whether you're inland, on a river, and how strong your home is. At this point, it doesn't look like an extreme system, but it is one that's certainly going to bring rain this weekend. Forecast projection, forecast cone, mid-afternoon Friday. Tropical storm, winds up to 50 miles an hour, give or take. By Saturday, likely a Category 1 hurricane, a minimal hurricane, winds of about 80 miles an hour. The threshold is 75. And keep in mind, between 75 and 80 or between 75 and 70, it's not a great difference. But from Saturday to Sunday, it likely will continue on a more northward track. As you saw the model sort of bending, that's all due to the steering current shifting. So by Sunday midday, back to tropical storm as it moves inland and heads toward Tennessee and then the Carolinas. The actual landfall would be likely Sunday morning, and the center of the storm at that point likely somewhere within that circle. Again, it shows that same or similar difference to the various computer models. And we have the differences because if it slows down at 7 a.m. on Sunday, it could still be in the Gulf of Mexico. If it speeds up, it could be in central Mississippi. And then depending upon which track or which direction it moves, it's a system that could be approaching the Mobile Bay area or central Louisiana. So still lots of places, lots of people watching this very carefully. Here's one computer projection. This is Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock along the north central Gulf Coast. An east wind, a few showers, but nothing too extreme. That little circle right there off the Yucatan, that is Tropical Storm Nate in the projection. Notice it moves northwestward. This is Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock south of Louisiana, but it doesn't mean it's going to keep moving northwestward. You have to consider the steering winds are going to change as we move into the weekend, and that means from Saturday, assuming it's even right there at that point, it may take a more northerly track, head right toward central Louisiana, or a more northeasterly track. Now, if it goes northeast, you can tell by the length of that arrow, it would take it longer to reach land than if it goes more to the north. So, different scenarios. If it goes due north, a shorter or sooner landfall. Farther eastward, a later landfall. And if it goes farther eastward, it could really be anywhere from the Mississippi coast into the Florida Panhandle. Just a very slight change in the direction, if it's approaching land from an angle, makes a big difference on where it can go inland. But here's something that's really important to know. Right now, when you look at that computer projection, it doesn't seem to be a really big storm. It looks like it'll be a small storm. And when you think about Katrina and Dennis back in 2005, at landfall, their wind speeds were about the same. That really is not the important point. The important point, Katrina was a very broad storm. The hurricane force winds, the winds of 75 miles an hour or greater, they stretched out 125 miles. Now for Dennis, they stretched out 40 miles. So what I'm telling you is this storm, the way it looks right now, if it's nice and small, it means whatever county it hits, the neighboring county may not see hurricane force winds, and that's really important to keep in mind. But again, given the uncertainties, we can't say right now which of those is going to be the main threat, and that's why you need to have a plan for this weekend. I mentioned rainfall, 3 to 5 inches of rain on average for the north central Gulf Coast. If you're not near the exact center of the storm, winds 40 to 50 miles an hour. That would be Saturday night into Sunday. The rain would be both Saturday and Sunday. And if you're just to the right of where it makes landfall, if it stays nice and small, you'll see storm surge of 3 to 5 feet. Now that's just a rough projection. I don't mean rough weather, but a truly rough projection of what we could see out of Tropical Storm Nate, which will probably, but not definitely, probably become Hurricane Nate in the Gulf of Mexico. Keep up with the forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals.